Hello everyone, and today we're going to see about knights and their outposts where they can sit and do damage to your opponent. And let's get started. So, knights are very unique pieces in chess where they can easily go anywhere in like in the L-shaped direction, as we know, in the in this direction at least, or in this direction. And in such a unique way of going, knights have a weaknesses and strengths of their own. So a knight, when if a knight is shifted to a corner, it exerts the least amount of power as it can only control two squares. That is this square and another is this square. So the knight is the least powerful here and cannot move or do much and can easily be trapped by any piece if it is in the corner. So a knight deserves more. Even a knight at the edge of the board also exerts very less, and it cannot move around that freely, and it cannot participate in the game that easily if it is at the edge, as it controls least less squares even here. In this position, the knight is controlling these squares, but they're hardly doing anything as they're not controlling the center, nor they're able to get into the opponent's camps through these squares in order to do some damage. So a knight should be present in the center. So while developing your knights during the starting of the game, never develop it towards the edge of the board. Unless your plan is to go somewhere towards the center after you have developed it towards the edge. So, or you have to support something which is there on the center through the knight. So, edge knight in the edge is not going to work. So a knight exerts most pressure when it is in the center of the board. And what is the center of the board? Basically, whenever the knight can control any of the squares, which is like the d4, e4, d4, then d5 or e5. This is the major center of the board that is present. And if knight can control these squares, the knight is in a good place. So a knight can be dangerous in many situations where uh, it is many situations where knight can take outposts or places in the board where it can exert more pressure on your opponent, and those places are very dangerous for your opponent to allow the knight to be. For example, knights on you can say from c3 to f3. This squares is fine. They can do a little bit, but they are in a good squares. They have the potential to go forward in the future. So knights placed anywhere in this third rank of your from your perspective will be a good knight. It will be a fine knight which can jump towards the center in the future. Then, if we go a little bit one rank above, that is from c4 to f4. These are the squares where the knight can be can be termed to be little bit powerful and better placed, as from here it starts to damage and do some control over your opponent's territory. For example, a knight sitting here will be more dangerous as it can control all these territories of your opponent's camp, which is going to do a lot of damage or it can also control many things in the camps, in the for example, in the fifth and the sixth ranks of your opponent's camps. So a knight there will be a better placed knight than the third rank. So next, if we see another set of, if we go even further, a knight on the fifth rank will be even more dangerous, as it can control the seventh rank of your opponent and also the sixth rank of your opponent through from here. And not only that, it can also control the fourth rank as well, exerting a lot of pressure. And this knight can be termed as dangerous in many situations, where the knight can easily jump and do a lot of damage, like four, or even like a, a discovered attack on your opponents, and can restrict your opponents to a lot extent from the fifth rank. And the knight on the sixth rank will be the most dangerous one, as it can exert the pressure on the eighth rank, on the seventh rank, and even on the fifth and the fourth rank of your opponent's territory, which will become extremely dangerous. And this knight can be termed as the monster knight, or even the octopus knight, trying to grab everything that the opponent has by either fork or discovered attack, or restricting them to certain squares where they cannot move from. And this kind of knight is the deadliest one and can exert the most pressure on your opponent. So let's see some examples of how the knight outpost can look like from a point of view. So before seeing the other positions, we will discuss what is an outpost. Outpost is a square on the opponent's territory, where the knight can sit comfortably and none of the pawns of your opponent can drive it away from that square, and only pieces can attack it. So that is called as an outpost. And an outpost is a very good home for your knight, and very good square for a knight, as from there the knight is unshaken, cannot be moved away, and can exert a lot of pressure on your opponent's territory, as it will be very difficult for an opponent to remove it without the possibility, or without the presence of any pawn to drive it away. So that's why a night outpost is a deadly thing to give to your opponent, or uh, and also it will be very good if you can take control of your opponent's outpost squares, creating devastating effects on their position. So in the initial position, if we see, let's take the initial position. This is a good example of like how the knights are placed usually during the start of the game. They are placed on the third rank on F3 and C3, and they are fine knights. They are, I will not say they are bad or they are very good, but they are okay knights, as they are controlling the center and exerting some pressure in the center, but they are not doing as much as necessary. They are just there, and they are not like doing a lot of damage to your opponent. They are just existing and supporting your central control over the period of time. So these knights are fine. So uh, let's see another set, another position. Yes, this is another example of knight, but now it's one step above the third rank. So the third, it's on the fourth rank, and now see the moment the knight lands on the fourth rank, how much damage it is doing, or you can say how much force it is exerting on opponent's pieces, as this knight is completely dominating on the queen side, trying to take over the game through taking advantage of weaknesses that opponent has. And most of the time, opponents cannot do much about it in certain situations, as this knight can exert pressure all over the place of your opponent's camp. So this is an example of a good knight. From we went from OK knight on c3 and f3 to a good knight on c4. Now let's see another position. Yes, this is the position where knight starts to become dangerous, where the knight is sitting on fifth rank. We went another step forward, and the knight on the fifth rank is completely dominating the whole game, where it is controlling everything in opponent's sixth and seventh rank, not letting them move freely, and where opponent is struggling for air and space due to the knight. White is completely dominating with double rooks behind the knight and a bishop completely supporting the knight in the center. And if this knight moves anytime in the future, it can cause devastating effects with all white pieces coming in, infiltrating the whole game. And we'll see last but not the least, this is the most dangerous possible knight that one can have, sitting on the sixth rank of the board, completely dominating the eighth, seventh, and the fifth rank of your opponent, not letting them move freely at all, completely dominating the whole area. And this is known as the octopus knight. And this kind of knight can easily win you the game, as it is expert at restricting your opponent's movement in the position, and obviously letting you gain a lot of space advantage during the game and letting you move freely during the game. And not only that, this knight is anchored by a pawn. If anytime in the future, if this bishop takes this knight by going to f8 and takes, then the pawn will replace the knight and will do a similar level of job, trying to restrict the opponent's pieces. And not only that, it is also a very dangerous pawn which has a potential of becoming a queen in the future, not letting your opponent breathe free. So this is how the knight's uh, position can be, and how knight outposts can work. And as you can see, how is it is an outpost of a knight. If we start from uh, from here, we can see that it's a knight outpost because none of the pawn of blacks can drive it away from this square. It is sitting comfortably on the e5 square, taking advantage, or you can say taking full control of the game from the d5 square. So, and also from the next position, if we can see, it's also a outpost, as black's pawns cannot drive it away. Only pieces can attack it, but as it is anchored safely and very nicely by your opponent's like by the pawn, opponent cannot do much about it, as it has to sacrifice either a piece or to exchange it, but that will result in the knight being replaced by a pawn, which will be extremely dangerous and fatal if when the game reaches end, like in the ending, where the pawn has the potential to become queen in the future. So this is all about knights and their outposts and how can they exert pressure from each rank of the board, and how you should like try to place your knights on such positions in this which controls directly the center. Initially, obviously, you have to set your knight up in the C3 or F3 ranks, and then when the opportunity presents you in the future, you can elevate it or you can improve its position or rank by moving it to a better rank whenever your opponent presents you, like the fourth rank or the fifth rank or the sixth rank, etc. So be careful about not letting your opponent as well to let the knights into such kind of outposts of and or not let the outpost be in any of your campsites or in your position so that your opponent cannot take advantage of that weakness and try to take advantage of such weakness your opponent unknowingly creates. And this will be fatal for your opponent as these weaknesses can be easily targeted and can be taken advantage of by the knights. And when the knights takes an outpost in your opponent's camp, it obviously does a lot of damage. The opponent might miss a fort or discovered attack, or even worse, it can restrict your opponent forever, and you can easily keep improving your position unless your opponent uh, basically crashes out and uh, self-destructs due to space, spacelessness, and that is how a knight can be dangerous and very useful when it's on the right square or it's given the right square during the game. So that is it for today, and we'll see you in the next video where we'll see how the Knight Outpost can win you the game by seeing some legendary uh, Grandmaster scheme where they took the full advantage of Knight being on the fifth or sixth ranks of the opponent's position. So that is it for today, and bye bye.